Bro. Let's go.
Yeah,
That was so much fun to watch, dude.
I know. It was a vintage Stephen Curry game. And so what part do you want to hit on first here?
Bro, do you kind of want to go through, you want to go like in chronological order? You kind of want to talk about the first game a little bit and then get into this game? Or do you just want to talk about this game?
Yeah, let's start up with the most recent game first.
Okay.
Because that's obviously what's the most relevant right now.
Right, exactly.
I think where we've got to start is Stephen Curry. What a game he had tonight.
Yeah. Bro, the shots he was making was out of this world.
Yeah, the shot making was preposterous. And what was the most impressive for me was he went 8 of 16 from 3. And that is very good. Like 50% on that high volume is incredible. And it's indicative of how skilled Steph Curry is as a shooter. But I mean, we've seen him do that before. Like,
right, exactly.
That's not super atypical for Stephen Curry. Like, he does that all the time. Damian Lillard's had mini games like that. Like, that's not too crazy. The work he did on the interior was what really made this one of Steph Curry's best ever games.
Like getting to the line?
And in particular, getting to the line 19 times and making 18 of those was ridiculous. And he shot 10 of 15 from 2-point range. And a lot of those were difficult shots as well. Like, he was just putting on a clinic from the mid-range, from the floaters. I think he had 2 or 3 floaters. And then just finishing around centers and wing players. Like, it was just he scored so well from all 3 levels tonight. And then the 19 free throws were just sort of the icing on the cake. Like, just a ridiculous Steph Curry game on offense.
Yeah. What did he missed one early, and then how many in a row did he make after that? It's insane, dude. He's automatic. Doesn't even touch a rim ever. It's crazy. Him and Dame are so much fun to watch at the line. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And that definitely was a big deciding factor in this game was Steph's free throw shooting.
Exactly.
So do you want to get into like what allowed Stephen Curry to have this great game? Because although he played well in the first matchup between these two teams, like, this was several notches above that first performance where he was still kind of fighting through some shaky shooting. Like, I think he went 5 from 15 from deep in the first meeting between these two teams. I hope I'm remembering that correctly. Yeah. And he did show flashes of sort of getting back on track. Obviously, a very bad start to the season for Stephen Curry. And so he just obviously built off that tonight and shot very well. But I think there were some changes to both the Blazers and the way the Warriors played that really allowed that to happen. The first thing I want to kind of touch on is involving Draymond Green a little bit less in the offense. I had mentioned in the preview pod we did with Shannon that what I really thought the Blazers should do is guard Stephen Curry with Derek Jones and guard Draymond Green with Robert Covington. And that was our base set in both games. Yeah. And the Warriors and Steve Kerr, they tried to get that Curry-Green pick and roll going. And that had been a staple of their offense for pretty much the entire Curry era. And the Blazers were just able to switch that with both Jones and Covington and pretty much stonewall that action. And that's what allowed the Blazers to have such great success defensively in the first game. I mean, coupled with the fact that through that point, the Warriors had been the worst offense in the league. But I thought it was still a good scheme by Stotts, and it worked. What Kerr did more this game was involve Wiseman and Looney in pick and rolls and get the Blazers centers involved. And both Nurkic and Kanter had absolutely miserable games on defense. Kanter redeemed some of that on offense. Nurkic probably had one of, if not his worst game in a Blazer uniform, which led to him being benched in the fourth quarter. We can talk about that later. I'm kind of going off on a tangent here. But yeah, what really allowed Curry to go off was just trying to involve more centers in the pick and roll action. And do you want to respond to that? I have a couple other points I want to make, but do you want to add something there?
You're right on. It was so because like Draymond, he only have like 1 point today?
Correct.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree. Like, dude, but some of this, I'm not going to get too far off, but I'm just still kind of in awe because it was so much fun to just watch vintage Steph. But yeah, it was so sick. Like some of the shots he was making, I was just like, oh my God. Because, bro.
And
But
another thing that really stood out to me is Steph, he played 36 minutes, so he got a lot of
yeah,
playing time, which means he was on the court alongside a lot of Blazers bench units, especially in the
facts.
first half, where, correct me if I'm wrong, did he start the second quarter? Like he played quite a long string of minutes in the first half.
Didn't he play the
And
whole third quarter too?
yeah,
Almost.
definitely played the third quarter. He had
Yeah.
probably his biggest rest in the beginning of the fourth, where I think
Yeah.
he sat out like 5 or 6 minutes. But anyway, back to my point about the Blazers bench units. Oh, look, Stotts threw out there in game one that worked fairly well was having Covington, Mello, and Derek Jones Jr. on the floor at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
and basically going to a very switchable but small lineup. And part of that is aided by the fact that the Warriors have lineups where they play like Eric Pascal or Draymond
Yep.
Green at center. So the Blazers can kind of match up with their size in that regard. Even if Looney's on the floor, like Looney's a little bit bigger than those guys, but he's far from like a dominating physical presence, specifically like on the offensive glass. Like he's bigger than those guys, probably a little stronger, but the rebounding advantage he has is not going to be too debilitating. So Stotts was still able to go with that small ball lineup. And one of the things that really held back the Blazers in this instance was just foul trouble. Like Covington missed large swaths of the game. Derek Jones Jr. To be fair, Derek Jones Jr. had a miserable game, but he was out most of the game with foul trouble. I think he finished with 5 fouls and was just benched by Stotts along with Nurkic in that fourth quarter. So the inability to access those smaller switchable lineups because of that foul trouble caused the Blazers to have to play a lot more than I think they would like to, especially against the Warriors with one of either Cantor or Nurkic on the floor. And those offenses were just flamed by Steph Curry. Like those centers are way too slow to be involved in any sort of defense that hopes to contain Stephen Curry, and that definitely hurt us a lot tonight. I wish we would have turned to Harry Giles, especially in the second half when it just became apparent that we were basically letting the Warriors or the Blazers were letting the Warriors get whatever they wanted on offense. I would have loved to see what a like smaller, more agile, quick center could have done on the floor. I understand that Harry was a little rocky in his first game against Golden State a couple of nights ago, but I just think the concept of having a player such as Harry Giles would have been, if nothing else, an interesting experiment when nothing was going right for the Blazers.
Yeah, dude, isn't it weird? Like, I feel like this game, I could be kind of wrong, but I mean, from what I saw, this game was similar to game one, but it was just kind of reversed. Whenever the Blazers started to kind of get back in the game, it was just timely shooting by the Warriors. And then whenever the Warriors in game one tried to get back in the game, when they got within 10 or 12 or something, it would just be like they fouled and Dame got to the line or they hit a big shot, you know?
Yeah, particularly we've talked a lot about Stephen Curry, but I actually think two guys who stepped up and had very big games were Andrew Wiggins. And I have talked a lot about this guy on the podcast before, but I've got to give credit where credit's due. I think Eric Pascal played well, not only tonight, but I thought he was the Warriors' second best player in the first game against Portland. And I know that's damning with faint praise, but yeah, I kind of talked about like with Mello and Rodney Hood. Rodney Hood obviously injured, could not play tonight. But with those two defenders on the floor, I thought Eric Pascal would probably have a pretty good matchup at most times. And that definitely came to bear.
No, yeah, he hit some big shots in the second half when the Blazers were kind of getting back. Because like he hit that one like corner mid range, and I think he also drove and got like a lay-in, which it was just the Warriors. It was so sick because was in the second half, I want to say they got within, what was it, 8? Kind of, with like 4-ish minutes to go or something.
Yeah, and we were within 9, and then no, we were within 7, and then
7.
Damian Lillard missed that 3, and then Steph came down and got fouled on the other end, and that's really kind of what sealed the deal. We got it back to 9, and then CJ McCollum hit a 3, and the refs called it off, and that was kind of all she wrote. And we should talk about the fourth quarter later, because I think there were some pretty interesting circumstances that went down there. But I just want to key in on Andrew Wiggins, because I thought he had a huge game, and he continued the very poor shooting, 1 of 5 from 3. You'd hope he could do a little bit better than that.
But didn't that one 3 ball come in the fourth?
Physically dominant over any Blazer guard that was put on him. Like he was playing so much more aggressively than, like, I've watched all of the Warriors games so far this season. I don't think that trend will continue, but I've been able to catch all 6 of their games this season. And this is by far the most assertive that Andrew Wiggins has looked. And I thought that was wonderful, because with Steph and Curry having to be guarded by a Robert Covington or a Derek Jones at all time, Andrew Wiggins was just, by the process of elimination, bound to have a physical mismatch. Like, he took CJ McCollum to the post quite a few times. Yeah. And I was a little bit disappointed by the lack of physicality Wiggins has had. Like, I thought he should have maybe had his way even more with McCollum, but McCollum's a strong guy, like broad shoulders, pretty sturdy base. Like, I guess that's a little bit unfair of me to expect that from Wiggins, a more slight frame. But what really impressed me was just Wiggins' elevation and being able to hit those pull-ups from floater range. And I thought that was a very good shot for him. And he looked more confident getting downhill, trying to get to the basket. Let me see how much he got to the line, because I'm pretty sure he shot a fair amount of free throws. Yes, 7 free throws for Wiggins. I would bet that's over his season average by quite a bit. Only 4 of 7 from the free throw line.
He missed those 2.
Yeah, again, you would hope that was a little better. But yeah, all in all, a very impressive game from Wiggins to me.
Yeah. But yeah, his 3-pointer came clutch, though. That came in the 4th, I think.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Yeah. That was sick. But yeah, Wiggins, because it was kind of a slower start. He kind of turned it on in the second half.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And he did have some good plays in the first half, especially in the first quarter before the game because the Warriors had a lead pretty much the entire game. And I think Wiggins was incremental in building that lead. And then maybe the middle portion of the game, he was a little quieter. And then the fourth quarter, obviously, he played very well. So
how'd you like Draymond's chirping? It's so funny.
I mean, yeah. So
I love it so much.
It's kind of just the Draymond experience. So
no, yeah, because even though he's on the, like, he might not be an offensive scorer or whatever, but you just like know when he's on the court, and it's kind of sweet. You know what I mean? And his like, I don't know, I felt like, you probably will explain it better than me, but I felt ball movement was a lot better in this game when guys were driving and kicking it out and stuff. I don't know. I just felt like there was a lot less ill-advised shots.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just felt like there was some, but some of Steph's shots were kind of like crazy though.
No, with the roster that Golden State's constructed, Steph could literally pull up from half court contested, and that wouldn't be that shot. I think in this iteration of the Warriors, it would be impossible for Stephen Curry to take a bad shot. I would say more James Wiseman in particular. He went 6 of 9, but he had some shots that were a little iffy, especially in the first quarter. Actually, he showed some good restraint through the rest of the game, which I'm sure is something Steve Kerr talked to him about. I was actually I forget who I was talking to about this, but I was saying the worst thing that could have possibly happened for the Warriors was James Wiseman heating up from 3 in the first 2 games. Like, he started out like some preposterous, like 6 of 8 or something, and that gave him like the confidence to keep taking those shots, when in reality, that's probably not the outcome the Warriors want from their possessions. But I thought Wiseman did a much better job on the interior of this game. He still has quite a few wrinkles that need to be ironed out of his game. But yeah, the shot selection in general was better. Only one 3-pointer didn't go in, and then Oubre is another guy. You want him to kind of shoot into rhythm, but until that happens, 5 3-pointers, and you only went 1 for 5.
Yeah, I think did the 1 3-pointer? It came after one of his dunks.
Yeah.
Or one of his putbacks. Was that early third quarter or late second?
No, it was definitely, might have been I think you're right, mid third quarter.
Yeah, but
But yeah, I think ultimately you're right. I think the shot selection probably was a lot better. And I do think a lot of that was the product of the Blazers defense, which was markedly worse for a variety of reasons than it was.
Yeah,
in
you were
game
mad.
one. But yeah. Anytime the Blazers allow the 30th ranked offense to put up 100, and was it 136, 137 points?
Mm-hmm.
Not a great outing, but
negative. Well, when you have, it's just one of those nights where Steph took over, and it's just like you kind of have to accept it. It's just like when Dame takes over a game, It's like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. For sure.
It was so much fun though. I finally got a first kind of glance at what Kelly Oubre is capable of doing, because I haven't watched him a whole bunch. And what I've seen from the games, it was just like, besides good defense and being explosive, it wasn't anything too crazy. But this game kind of excited me for like what he could be in the future.
I mean, what was he really doing any differently this game, you think, aside from being wide
his
open?
Putbacks, and he made a shot, but like you're kind of right. His defense he's like pretty tenacious on D.
Yeah,
like
and
no matter what. But
and
like
he
his
runs
just
the floor in transition, and he brought a lot of energy. Like you talked about Draymond chirping Kelly even more so.
Facts.
Like it's a little tone deaf when you injure a guy and then you're talking to him the next play. But I mean, he had a good game, so we can let it slide.
Yeah, but he had a few dunks. I was just like, Jesus, because he gets up so fast. Like when you're 1v1 with him, it's just like, nah, there's no point in contesting it.
Like people talk about the most explosive athletes in the league, and Kelly definitely deserves a place in that conversation. Like anytime he's out in transition, like he's absolutely going for like a show-stopping dunk. And so yeah, he's a very impressive athlete. Do you want to talk about some of these Blazer players now?
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Gary Trent's D was nice on Steph?
Oh,
there were some times when Steph was trying to do work a little magic, and then he just had to dish it off because Gary wasn't letting anything happen.
Yeah, Gary once he got 1-on-1 against Steph, he did have several. He did have several plays where he kind of stonewalled Steph, like you were saying, and just didn't let Steph do anything off ball. It was a little bit more, a little bit less impressive from him. Like I thought Derek Jones in the first game did a brilliant job of finding Steph above the screens. Like it's so the Warriors run the play so often, just having Steph come off of pin downs off the ball, in particular when Draymond's operating above the key. And for large swaths of the first game, like Derek Jones just kind of stood on top of those screens and waited for Steph to come out and just shut those actions down immediately. I thought Gary Trent didn't do quite as good of a job at that, got screened off quite a bit. But yeah, some of the on-ball stuff he showed was impressive.
Yeah, for
sure. And again, like it's hard to criticize any Blazer player just because it's so hard to stay in front of Stephen Curry, which is why most of the teams who've had success slowing down the Warriors offense have operated in a more switch-heavy system. And with our most switchable defenders and Derek Jones and Robert Covington not being able to play for a variety of reasons this game, that just becomes so much more challenging, because guys like Carmelo Anthony or Anthony Simons or obviously Nurkic or Cantor, when it's the center setting the screen, like those guys aren't going to be able to switch on to Stephen Curry, which just puts Gary Trent in a very unenviable situation. So
yeah, and Gary he hit one good 3 ball, But then besides that, I don't know. I just got a feeling that I just didn't think his three ball was going to go down a whole bunch.
Yeah, and we'll go easy on him because this was his first game coming back after a calf injury, and so you could definitely see he was still shaking that rust off. He went 1 of 6 from 3 of 11 overall. In the last couple of minutes, obviously this was complete garbage time, but he airballed a shot from about 8 or 9 feet away. That was pretty symbolic of just the way the entire night had gone for Portland. But yeah, definitely a slow start coming back for Gary Trent.
I was impressed with Cantor though. When Cantor's on the floor, he took advantage of the Warriors when they were playing like small or whatever.
Yeah,
and he would get all those boards and put it back up.
Yeah, this was kind of what I talked about in our first preview podcast with Shannon, that Cantor would have a lot of advantages when he played with the backup unit. And that actually didn't come home to roost so much in the first game where the Blazers actually ended up beating the Warriors. But yeah, today, 8 offensive rebounds, 12 rebounds total, just an amazing effort from Cantor on the offensive end. Converted 8 of 12 shots. So he just keeps the insane efficiency numbers going from a shooting perspective. Actually went 8 of 10 from the line. So just a very, very effective offensive night for Cantor. But again, just going back to the defensive side of the floor, just no chance of stopping Curry when it's Cantor defending the pick and roll. Like Curry could go by him with ease. And if Cantor were to lay back, obviously that's just not an option. And so even with a brilliant offensive outing, I would say Cantor was unfortunately a net negative tonight for Portland, just because you really can't have a player like him on the floor, which is a bummer.
Yeah, because wasn't it 2 plays in a row, or not in a row, but I feel like pretty in close proximity where Steph drove and then got fouled by him.
Yeah, and I actually want to clarify a point.
Or he fouled Steph.
Yeah, I want to clarify a point I made earlier, which is you can't have Cantor on the floor. Like, I shouldn't have just made that definitive of a statement, because obviously Cantor is a very fine player. You can't have Cantor on the floor with such a lack of other defensive options. Like, you can't have him on the floor with Carmelo Anthony, Gary Trent Jr., Damian Lillard, and CJ McCollum, for example. Like, that's just never going to work. Like, if you have Covington, if you have Derek Jones Jr., I know I keep going back to those 2 players, but they're just so crucial. And that's really, I mean, obviously Olshey and the Blazers organization agrees, because we put all of our offseason, well, not all of them, obviously, but we put our most precious offensive or offseason resources into getting those 2 defensive-minded wings. And so when both of them can't be on the court, like Covington played 27 minutes, Jones only 17 minutes, and that's when it starts to become a little bit tenuous for Enes Kanter.
Yeah. What play from this game sticks out most to you?
Well, I think it's got to be as just sort of a representative play of how the game went. I think it was with just over a minute left in the fourth quarter. Steph had an insane step back 3, probably from like 32 feet out. He just went off the screen, stepped back into an open pocket, and just drilled a 3, nothing but net. I think that was his 7th 3 of the game. And that was just, to me, symbolic of just the unreal shooting night Steph had. Probably on a more striking note, I guess the one that's going to stick with me the most from this game, unfortunately, because this was a little bit less of a positive play and may have some negative implications going forward. I hope Damian Lillard's okay. He was kind of afterwards. But when, I don't know, I thought that was, we can talk about the fourth quarter. That was a pretty obvious foul on Kelly Oubre.
When he was trying to go through him or whatever?
Yeah, when he was trying to go through the screen, had hands all over Damian Lillard.
Facts.
Obviously.
I thought there's a lot of contact there for sure.
Yeah, and they let that one go, which, I don't know.
I agree with you. I was like, isn't that's got to be something?
Yeah, I mean, and with Damian Lillard, he does so much foul baiting from 3-point land. So, I mean, sometimes he draws fouls and there really is minimal contact. And so when you have a style of play where you take so many shots with the hope of getting fouled in mind, you kind of have to live with the fact that sometimes you will be fouled and nothing's called. Like that's just kind of the cost of doing business, but you hate for a guy to like get hurt on a play like that. So
facts.
Just unfortunate there. Another no call or no, well,
just
no
going
call.
off on the no call.
Well, no, this one was a call, and this one was the correct call. Like I'm not trying to criticize the referees too harshly. This is more of like a philosophical issue I have is in soccer, they talk a lot about the concept of playing for an advantage, which is basically if a foul occurs, but the offensive team or the team who's been fouled has a very good shot at scoring a goal, like they just won't call the foul, right? Because the whole purpose of a foul is to penalize the team who commits the foul. And so if you like take away a goal scoring opportunity by blowing a foul, you're really rewarding the team who commits the foul and penalizing the victim of the foul. And so that just is the complete opposite of what the whole mechanism is in place for. And to me, a big example of this was the fourth quarter in the game tonight when the Blazers were down by 9. CJ McCollum has a wide open 3-pointer and Kelly Oubre just sees the opportunity to hack in his canter. And as the McCollum shot drains in after the shot goes in, you hear the whistle. And that's just, it was a foul. Like, don't get me wrong. The ref saw the contact. He blew the whistle. Like, I mean, you can't hate on that too much, but I think that's something they're probably going to look at next season because I've actually seen this a few times as players fouling to sort of prevent baskets. And
was it intentional?
Yeah. He kind of saw.
That's CJ so smart.
Yeah, it is smart. And I talk about this a lot too. Like there are a lot of rules in the NBA that are like ripe to be taken advantage of. And so I don't criticize Kelly Oubre for committing that foul, like because the rule is in place. So you might as well use it to your advantage. It's sort of frustrating to see stuff like that happen. But
yeah,
overall, like obviously like if you see a foul, you can call it, and it's totally within their realm of power.
Yeah. Can you explain to me the one with when CJ put his he kind of just elbowed Wiseman? Like what happened there? And what's the upgrade? Like I don't get it. Like I don't really understand that.
I mean, I think.
Did you think it was a foul? Like
yeah, that one I thought was a flagrant.
Yeah, me too.
The CJ's kind of a rough and tumble guy. I think the Blazers have got a couple players like that, like Carmelo Anthony too. Both kind of players who enjoy sort of the physical component of basketball, like sort of old school players like to kind of get into guys and play in that sort of physical mindset. But yeah, McCollum definitely took it a step too far, kind of just lowered the elbow into Wiseman. And yeah, they upgraded to a flagrant. And I think
okay.
And I think that's fair. Like McCollum could have definitely fouled him in a more gentle manner. And then Wiseman did go on to miss both of the flagrant free throws. Although Wiseman's supposed to be some great shooter, but
shoot.
But yeah.
I loved there was a short stint there when Lee and Carmelo were kind of talking after Lee's. I didn't really look too much of a foul, but I mean, there probably was contact there. And then when Carmelo drained that 3 or something in the corner and Lee was trying behind him, talking to him, it was so funny.
Yeah.
And then Carmelo's just backpedaling down the floor, just talking to Lee.
Yeah. The Warriors are definitely going to be a talkative team this year.
If you've got Oubre and Draymond, I mean, Jesus, dude.
And Curry.
Yeah, too. For sure. Curry too. It's funny.
Yeah.
But I just love when I forget who it was. I think it might have been Robert Covington or somebody. and Draymond just like up close to him in his ear, just like talking to him, and he just seems to get under people's skin so easily.
Yeah, I mean,
I love it so much.
if the Warriors can keep playing this well, they're going to be a pretty good villain. I mean, everybody loved to hate on the Warriors back when it was the championship days, and so if they can get back to that level of play, which I mean is still very doubtful.
Well,
but,
Steph's not going to drop 62 every night.
Yeah, and they're not going to play the Blazers defense every game. But
like, okay, at what point in the game were you kind of just like, fuck, dude? Because to me, there was like a little bit of stress inside of me the entire game because I was thinking, it could go south for us really quick because a few shots here and there, and they're right back in the game.
To me, the sequence that really kind of was the dagger, in my opinion, was when Dame got that wide open three. I think this was with 5 or 6 minutes left. We were down. The Blazers were down by 7, and Lillard missed the shot, just had it rim off, and then Curry was able to get out in transition and draw a foul and hit. I think those were his 15th and 16th free throws of the game. And so that was a 5-point swing that it would have been a 4-point lead for the Warriors. And instead Curry hit the shots and made it a 9-point lead. And that's kind of when I saw the writing on the wall and realized this was not going to be a win for the Blazers on this occasion.
Another fun ass play was when Nurk was down low and Oubre was there. And I'm pretty sure Nurk tried to put it back like 3 times and it just wasn't working. I was just thinking to myself, how is there no whistle going on here? Because there was a lot of stuff going on and I was just in awe.
Yeah.
It was a fun sequence there.
Nurkic had a pretty bad game.
Copper top?
Yeah. Yeah, and he was benched in the fourth quarter, like I mentioned earlier, for Cantor. I would have benched him for Giles, but I mean, anything would have been better than what Nurkic was supplying. Pretty much no resistance on the defensive end. Turned it over twice on offense, and more than anything, just like you were saying, he could not finish on the interior. Like when he got numerous chances with the basketball. Like the Warriors were religiously double teaming Damian Lillard after the pick, and Damian Lillard countless times found Yusuf Nurkic wide open at the free throw line, and he just could not cash in any sort of way. Like his shot obviously was not falling. His passes though were just wildly off the mark. Like he had one attempted alley-oop to Derek Jones that went high off the backboard. Like it was just a very disappointing outing from Nurkic. He hasn't really rounded into form yet this season. He arrived at training camp late. Apparently he wasn't really able to play much basketball during the off season. So you kind of expected you just expected a slow start from Nurkic this season. But yeah, this one was pretty bad.
Yeah. It was another one that was so funny. I think somebody gave Wiseman a oop and Wiseman sunk it, but then Steph comes down the floor and then he does some like over the back kind of floater to Wiseman and it just goes away over. It wasn't even near the rim or something. I was just like, whoa there. They got a little bit too saucy there sometimes. But it's just fun. When Steph feels himself, he does some crazy stuff. It's so funny.
For sure. And I hope he's able to continue this going forward because as much as I hated to see this against the Blazers, like I bet it would have been pretty entertaining if it was against anybody else. So
for sure.
So yeah. And
he hasn't had a game like this in a minute.
Yeah. And I mean, whenever you can see a player like Stephen Curry have a game like this, it is just like amazing to watch. And I think we'll probably be treated to quite a few more of these just because the lack of other options on the Warriors offense. Like
Consistent options for sure.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, like I don't really think Stephen Curry could take a bad shot at this point. So here, hold on. I'm curious to see how many shots he ended up
He went 18 to 31
this game. Yeah, 18 of 31.
That's
wow.
ridiculous.
So, yeah. And then 8 of 16 from 3, 18 of 19 from the line. If you like divide that by 2, which is inaccurate because I'm sure he got fouled quite a few times in the bonus, but that's probably like 10. That's probably like 8 shots he got fouled on. So he had roughly 40 shooting possessions, which is just extraordinary. I'm trying to see if the NBA has posted the advanced box score yet, because I would be very intrigued to see what his usage rate was in this game. But I imagine that was pretty high as well.
What do you mean?
Like
just like how much he played?
No, just the percentage of possessions that he. Oh yeah, now they have it up. The percentage of possessions that he used. So for Stephen Curry, he had a usage rate tonight of 47%. Good Lord. So yeah, when Stephen Curry was on the floor, like it was the Steph show. So basically, usage rate is your shots, turnovers, and free throws divided by 2, divided by your team's like total amount of possessions, basically. So it just basically is representative of how many of your teams, or what proportion of your team's possessions resulted in you doing something, whether it's shooting or turning it over. So basically, Steph accounted for 50% of the Warriors' possessions when he's on the floor, which just to provide some context here, like the most ball dominant players in the NBA, like James Harden or Trae Young, usually hover around low 30s. So like 32, 33, 34.
What?
Like that 30, like low 30s, anything above 30% really is just insanely high usage. And Steph was able to get into high 40s. So just an unreal usage game for him. Let me see what Dame was today. Yeah, Dame 31%. Like that's pretty high. And Steph just blew that number out of the water. And so I honestly think that Stephen Curry is going to have to, he won't sustain that number, but I think he'd better get pretty close to that throughout the year if they want to keep winning games.
Yeah, your boy Jordan didn't play. And I think Mulder barely played. Or no, I don't think he played.
Mulder played for like 10 seconds.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And then Brad didn't play a lot either. He played like one stint in, I want to say like the fourth quarter when Steph was sitting.
Yeah. Yep. In the fourth quarter.
He's good. I mean, yeah. My dad was not happy with him. He did not like what he saw from Brad Wanamaker last game.
Oh, really? I mean, yeah, he's a very limited offensive player. He actually was better in Boston, I thought, but yeah, he's not really hitting shots. He's been turning the ball over quite a bit, which is concerning. So, can I just read off some statistics for you very quick?
For sure.
Like Stephen Curry, in the Warriors 2018-19 season, which was their last one as a championship contender, he had a 30% usage rate with Kevin Durant.
But was just this game, or is that accumulative?
Just in this game, he had a 48% usage. And so in order to sort of sustain the success, like I know I've said this before, but I just think this team has to be nothing but Stephen Curry. Like,
yeah, for sure. But,
which is kind of what the Blazers were like last year, honestly. Not to this extent, but really the case for the Blazers last year was, unless we were playing one of the worst teams in the NBA, it would pretty much have to be Damian Lillard having an insane game as our only chance to win. And I think the Warriors are sort of in for a similar experience this season.
I like what Damian Lee brings to the table too.
Yeah,
he's a fearless 3-point shooter when he gets the opportunity.
And the Warriors' 3-point shooting is something that they've really been lacking. So that's one of the reasons why I've pushed so hard for like a Michael Mulder to get on the floor. And I think Damian Lee is just the same deal. And Damian Lee provides another guy who he's not an amazing playmaker by any stretch of the imagination, but he can at least put the ball on the floor and keep the offense going should the shot not be available for him, which is something we can't always say about like a James Wiseman or Kelly Oubre or Andrew Wiggins. Like he has options that are available to him, even if the shot's not open. And if the shot is open, he is more capable than hitting that shot, or he's more capable of hitting that shot than most of the other options on the Warriors. So I agree with you. Like Damian Lee is definitely should be a larger part of the Warriors rotation.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, when he gets that semi-open look from straight on, he drilled another one just like that like he did against the Pistons, or not the Bulls. Yeah,
that game winner.
Yeah. I wanted to mention what did I want to say? So it was something about I was watching the post-game press conference with Steve Kerr. He seemed not from this game, but the last one. He was so mad, but he's so sarcastic, Like he has a pretty good sense of humor. And they were asking about Wiseman and stuff, and he had the funniest answer. Someone asked him about Wiseman's foul trouble, and he was just I forget what exactly verbatim what comment he said, but he was said he was basically just mind boggled that Wiseman still fouls so much because before like every game they tell him to just not go up and contest stupid shots and stuff. It was I was trying to send you the link, but it was the funniest thing. He just like, I just am failing to understand why he's still fouling so much because I literally talked to him before every game.
That's funny. Yeah, I didn't catch that press conference, but Steve Kerr is a super funny guy.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah,
he's
I like Steve Kerr quite a bit. So
hey, who's up next for the Blazers?
The Blazers, we've got the Bulls at home. So
okay.
I would be optimistic about that.
Yeah.
But we saw today that the Blazers are very capable to playing down, or very capable of playing down to almost. I mean, the Warriors had by far the lowest net rating in the NBA going into this game, and so I doubt that will be the case tomorrow. Though I bet this took the Warriors out of 30th place. So
for sure.
So you can credit the Blazers for that.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about game one a little bit or not?
No, that's okay.
All right.
I think we better just give the Warriors their praise tonight.
Dude, I'm telling you, ever since I got this sweatshirt for Christmas, every time I've worn it on the Warriors games, they beat the Bulls and they beat the Pistons. But then I wore that 49ers crew neck on the first game against the Blazers. They lost, and then they won with this.
Wow.
I'm just going to wear it every day. I'm not going to take it off.
I think that sounds like what you got to do.
Yeah. But the 49ers lost today though. So I think it only worked for the Warriors. But okay. Right. Good night, my man. Bye-bye.